Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about my experience going in 2023 to visit Disney World. Disney World is a magical place where you want to take your family for vacation, and I'm going to tell you how I did it on a budget. Well, as budget friendly as I possibly could. I'm going to share that with you. Now, I did not really feel like I needed to go, but I can have fun standing in line at the DMV. So I definitely had a great time at Disney World. My wife has never been, my youngest son has never been, so we went this year, and I'm going to share this with you, talk a little bit about each one of the parks: Epcot Center, Hollywood Studios, Magic Kingdom, and Animal Kingdom. We're going to talk a little bit about each of them. Then I'm going to break down the cost for you so that you can have an idea what it costs to go to Disney World in 2023. Coming up. So first of all, we did opt to drive to Disney World. It was a 2-day drive for us from here in Oklahoma, and it was about 1,300 miles. So we put nearly 3,000 miles on the car, driving down there and back. We will talk about the expense of that versus flying, but one thing is that if you do drive, if you go to Disney World and you have a car to leave the Disney compound and get outside of there, that saves you some money in the long run on food and a few other things. So for part of our package, we stayed on Disney's property, and we stayed in the All Music Hotel, which is one of the lower priced options out there. And I've got to say, if you're just finding a place to sleep, it's just fine. There's not a ton of space in those rooms, but it works. A family of 4 in this very small space, but you're just there to sleep because you want to get back out and have some fun. The hotel itself actually has 2 different pools, which is impressive, and one is shaped like a guitar, the other one's shaped like a piano. So interesting stuff right there, but they're very shallow, no diving boards. This isn't really some intense swimming. It's more slightly above a wading pool, but it is kind of fun and interesting. Family loved swimming in there. Now, if you stay at the resort, they are going to provide you with travel to each park, and you could pretty much just get on one of these every 15 minutes to go to each park from your hotel. So that was very convenient, and they actually run for an hour after the parks close, so that works out. So going to each of these parks, you're going to have to reserve your passes when you set up all of this on the website. Website's not very user-friendly, but it gets the job done, I guess you could say. But make sure you have availability for each park, and you have to have specific days. And our first day was Epcot Center, which was fun. Some of the attractions include this Grand Fiesta Tour, which is very classic. It's kind of a boat ride, a little slow going, but still feels familiar, but I believe they did do some upgrades to this over the years. There's a Frozen ride that you can go on. Again, another very low impact, slow going, but it is kind of fun to see these characters brought to life. That's a big part of Disney, is bringing characters to life, and big over-the-top productions. There's also the Mission Space, which is another classic one that they've had for quite a while, and not really easy to film inside that ride. It's kind of a little bit wild, a little bit crazy, a little bit of fun. Spaceship Earth is probably one of the most popular because it is Epcot Center, and that's the center of Epcot Center, and it does kind of showcase the history of mankind, and it's fun, it's interesting, and I sort of remember it from when I went in the 80s. Then there's also a ride with Figment. I never even heard of Figment till now, and so there's an interesting ride going on there. So there's some obvious progression since the 80s when I went to now, and stuff added along the way. Now, aside from just beholding the sight of Disney World, and Epcot Center is amazing, there's also a lot of shopping. All kinds of merchandise and souvenirs and things that you can buy at Disney World. And I do want to say that when you get into the souvenirs, and we'll talk about that you probably want to buy a lot of your souvenirs off the Disney World property. It is a little bit cheaper, but then there are some unique items that you can only get at Disney. And when it comes to the park, I think it does look good during the day, but it looks amazing at night. Now, this goes for all of the parks. They have a lot of stuff going on with lighting shows in the evening, and when the sun goes down, the lights come out. And Epcot does have the fireworks show. I don't know if it's every evening, but we got to catch it when we were there, and so it was a lot of fun with the backdrop of palm trees, and usually over some sort of water. It just looks amazing. Now it's time to head over to Hollywood Studios, where you're going to see the Skyliner, which is interesting. It feels kind of like you're on the ski slopes in a way, in a 1950s diner, moving back and forth. It's not too scary, but if you don't like heights, you probably won't have fun on this. This is just a transportation. I do love how the streets are set up to have that real feel over the top. Just feels like it has a setting that you're not going to see anywhere else. I do love the palm trees, and I do love the buildings. It looks fantastic. What I like the most about this trip to this park was all the Star Wars that was there. It was fun, it was exciting, and you can kind of tell where they had the old Star Wars attractions versus the new Star Wars attractions. But nothing really beats seeing an actual real life-size Ewok village and a life-size AT-AT. That's just fantastic. And it's one of those things that you really cannot capture this in a picture. Seeing it in person is so much different. Star Tours was kind of fun as a ride would go, and there was a little bit more to it than I thought. And I've never been on it before. Pretty interesting. Something about getting to see a life-size A-Wing that is impressive and very interesting. Getting to see a life-size Millennium Falcon, that's also just massively impressive. Again, Disney World and the scale of the rides and the attractions and just the buildings and having a life-size Millennium Falcon in front of you is very, very impressive. Now, Galaxy's Edge is pretty cool, although it is styled more towards a sequel trilogy type of the movies, and I'm more for the original trilogy. There's enough elements in there to have that feel. It was interesting to be immersed in Star Wars for several hours. That was a lot of fun. It was interesting, different than I thought it would be, actually. Now we can debate if some of these were actually life-size or true to scale. Some of them probably a little smaller than what scale should be, but it was still impressive to see it. Lots of shops and lots of places to eat and to get some sort of a drinks or snacks. Very high price, though. Got to point that out. Of course, there were actors in the suits walking around, stormtroopers, having a lot of fun, a lot of interactions. I wish I would have filmed the interaction I had with them. That was a little bit of fun there, too.
Have you pledged your support to the First Order? It's a simple question. Don't complicate it.
Other actors you run into would be in the rest of the park. Maybe they're not Star Wars, but Donald Duck, Daisy, a lot of fun. Even some green soldiers you run into occasionally. So the two biggest attractions would be the Smuggler's Run for Galaxy's Edge, and this is one of the ones that does have a long wait, and using your Lightning Pass, we could get into that and discuss that would add more money and be more expensive if you got the Lightning Pass. And then the other big one that everybody wanted to see was the Rise of the Resistance. And so those are the two big attractions if you want to check those out when you go in there. And they do carry long waits. And according to the app, 2-hour waits. And I believe Rise of the Resistance is one of the ones you have to get into an electronic queue for. So that's a whole different ballgame. Now getting in the next segment of the park, we get to enter the Toy Story area. The Slinky Dog Dash is probably one of the most popular attractions in this area. And it's a fun roller coaster. It is what I think they call a kiddie coaster or something along those lines. It's not really that intense and it's not that bad. It's a lot of fun. And the line moves pretty quick. It took us about a half hour to get through it. There's also some other attractions where they showcase props. I believe these are just some props and artwork, and that's just a whole art gallery, just a giant room of art gallery, so stuff to look at. Definitely things to do that don't involve rides. They're attractions and something to look at. You get to a very impressive, massive amount of real estate to look at on your way to an Indiana Jones experience. So this was a whole lot of fun with Indiana Jones. But they showed some stunts, and I'm sure there's videos showing this entire stunt scene, but it looked like a whole lot of fun. It's really hard to capture this good footage of this whole situation, but it's a lot of fun there. I couldn't think of a better time to see an Indiana Jones stunt show like this. I think it's a great year to go and see the Indiana Jones stunt show. According to my son who went in 2015, they actually had this going on in 2015 also, so it's not like it's new just for this year, but it's still a whole lot of fun. There's also the Runaway Railroad, which I was very surprised and impressed with this, and where technology has come for these types of rides and experiences. So this did impress me. It's not a wild, exciting roller coaster, but it does move pretty quick, and it is very impressive. I think that's the best word for Disney World in 2023. Now, there are other attractions like building a droid. You see people carrying around these build-a-droids. I think it was $130 to build a droid. And there's also the building your lightsaber, and that's $200, and a lot of pre-built lightsabers all over the place. When it comes to this park, merchandising, they actually had 30% off of all of their lightsabers during the time that I went. And I have to say that they had what felt like every lightsaber imaginable, and I considered buying some, but I have too many the way it is and carrying it around the park. I believe there is a service to send it to your room also, but I didn't inquire about that. And I do want to say that although there's no fireworks at Hollywood Studios in the evening, it's always fun to go back later on. Maybe you can catch a ride you missed with a shorter wait. As the time goes by, the waits decrease and you can get on the rides easier, and it is fun to see the park again in the dark. Take a break and go back. That's what we did. Now, getting into the Magic Kingdom is very fun and interesting. It's going to have that beautiful Magic Castle. Definitely has a different feel to it than the other ones, more of an old-timey feel, and that's what they were going for. And I kind of feel like I remember this. I did miss the trolley and a few of the other things that happen in this area. They happened very early, according to the people that were there. One attraction that is quite fun is the Swiss Family Robinson's treehouse, where you can walk through this Swiss Family Robinson treehouse and you can see all kinds of different things. And this is really no line. It didn't feel like a line. You just start walking and everybody's walking through it and going through it. The line is walking through it, which is impressive in itself and a great idea and a whole lot of fun. There's also a magic carpet ride, Aladdin's magic carpet ride. I believe that was actually a long wait, but there's probably 5 rides just like this out there. It's a very low impact, very slow ride, but there's a whole lot of them almost exactly like this, but still kind of fun. You can see all over the place, all over the park from this, for the most part. Now there's the Jungle Cruise, which can be fun. Now that's another one with a really long line and took forever is what it felt. And one problem with this is the lightning lane. The lightning lane literally stopped the general admission for multiple ones of these loads. So some of the boats, entire boat went waiting in general admission because lightning lane people went through so fast. But it's definitely a fun ride and enjoyable, leisurely. Not going to be wild or crazy or anything like that, but it is what I remember of some of these, what I like to call a boat ride. Speaking of a boat ride, there is the Pirates of the Caribbean, which is another one of those boat rides. And it can be kind of fun and enjoyable to kind of see the animatronics going on inside there. Of course, there's a gift shop on your way out of the ride. They catch you on lots of these rides with these gift shops and trying to get you to spend more money. This is the merch. These are the souvenirs, where I'm going to break down the cost of souvenirs and how to save a little money, but still come away with some souvenirs. I always thought it was kind of fun to ride the train, just to get around and see what's going on from one place to another. And you also kind of have to duck down behind something, stay out of the street when there's a marching band coming across. Now, the Magic Kingdom does have a kiddie area. There's the Dumbo ride, which is a lot like the Aladdin ride, and a lot of other little kiddie rides that would be fun and enjoyable. But by far, the biggest attraction is Tron. The Tron is amazing, and it just looks like a whole lot of fun, but it looks like even more fun at night. This is a ride that you will have to sign up for the queue to ride the Tron ride, but it's cool. It straps you in a different way than any other roller coaster ever does. There's also the Speedway where you can ride around in some go-karts and where kids can drive. They don't go very fast, I think 8 miles per hour. Feels exactly the same as it did in the 80s. I think it is the same. Of course, they had to do some maintenance and upkeep, but it was a lot of fun. Now, the Tron store was really cool. This is where I did get some merch. Now, I'm not counting this in the trip because I would have paid more for it if we didn't go. So I would have bought it anyway, whether we went or not, and I don't think that really counts into a Disney World trip if you were to buy Tron merchandise on eBay or from another party versus going. But anyway, whole lot of fun. This is one of those things that I don't think this ride is going to be around very long, or at least not the merch store. Well, as with all this merchandise, it is subject to change. They'll have different merchandise different years. I don't know how long they keep the ride around. Now, going back at night, it is amazing to see everything lighting up at night. It's more impressive. Everything just looks so much cooler when it's lit up, and especially when it's getting dark. Space Mountain looks cool in the dark, and of course, Space Mountain is one of the main attractions. It is a fun, wild roller coaster. The fireworks are amazing. This is by far the best fireworks show at Disney World, at Magic Kingdom, so you want to stick around for that, but you have to understand there are so many people. It is so crowded, and to find a spot close enough to actually enjoy it is a challenge, but I think you really enjoy it from any area of the park. They do tape it off. They tape off almost the whole park on where you can stand, where you cannot stand. That was a surprise, but it was still a very enjoyable and extremely impressive show. Very long, too. So lastly, we went to Animal Kingdom, which I do not really remember from the 80s, and so I didn't really know what to expect out of Animal Kingdom. And I have to say that there are some things about Animal Kingdom that I thought was quite interesting. And so with that, there are live actual animals like this bald eagle. They had this bald eagle expo and they were showing this off. And I think that's kind of why the parks closed so early, because they have a lot of live animals, and Animal Kingdom is the earliest closing. I think they close at 7:30. It's just amazing how big this dinosaur is, this Dino-Rama. This is more or less a kiddie area and fun for kids, but way over the top just to see how big a real dinosaur would be in real life. You see that at Disney World. Everywhere you walk over a bridge, there's some sort of a boat going by, music getting played, boats going by. A lot of fun. Attractions such as this Mount Everest can be quite scary and intense, but also a whole lot of fun, thrilling fun on this Mount Everest ride. So they've got some interesting rides, some very fun, exciting rides for Animal Kingdom. I wouldn't have thought this would be an Animal Kingdom, but there it is. Now there's some really interesting things with the Navi River Journey. There's beautiful colors, and what's going on with this is if you watch the Avatar movie, this feels like you're being taken into Avatar, and yes, they are life-size animatronics. They are huge, way bigger than human beings, and that's how the movie goes. Lots of fun. So then there's the Kali Rapids Expedition, which is going to get you wet, soaked. I have to admit I was scared, not for my life, but for my phone, for my camera. There's also some monkeys to be seen. It's strange. There's so much space allocated towards one of these, and I'm not sure if there was more just taking a nap or something, but there was just one, and there's a ton of space, so he was definitely showing off. I'm not sure we even did half of what's on this list here, but we did have a good time. It was more fun than I thought you could have at an Animal Kingdom. There's real animals and there's fake animals. Can you tell the difference? There was a fun dinosaur ride that felt like it was a copy or a clone of Jurassic Park, but didn't want to say it was Jurassic Park, but it was kind of fun. It was more wild than I thought it'd be. Now you want to get all the stuff done during the day. Going back at night, there might be some lights here and there, but they shut down so early, it's not really worth going back for a second round at night because everything shuts down so early. So with that, that's the difference between the parks, and maybe it was a mistake we made, but I think we were tired by then. Animal Kingdom has some interesting shops. They're definitely different and unique, different than the ones you see in the other parks. And with that, you can also make yourself an avatar. This is strange that you're going to do this, but it's a selfie series avatar maker, and they're pushing the selfie series hard everywhere when it comes to Disney and Hasbro. But of course, merchandising is going to continue, and that's what it's all about. If you want to get some of the stuff at the park, you can, but some of this merchandise, like I say, you can only get at the parks. So breaking down the trip when it comes to expenses and trying to get a budget trip together to Disney World, $3,000 was the cost of the package. Now that included the hotel stay, that included the tickets, and that's $3,000. Now that's a ballpark figure because we did change our dates. It was like $2,800, $2,850, then it went up to $3,150. So it's a couple $100 change by changing your dates. So you do want to do this as early as possible. So you want to book it as early as possible to get the best price. Second of all, we chose to drive. That was $500, $300 for gas, and it was $200 for overnight hotel, 2 days of driving, and with that, $500. Then we had food, which was $700, and I'll give you some tips on food here in a bit, but it could have been way more than that, by the way. And we did a lot of stuff to make it a little cheaper. And souvenirs, $300. And the trick on the souvenirs is that there are a lot of shops outside of the property of Disney World that you can get those. And then the total, $4,500, is what we came to total ballpark figure. Now, food at the parks is very expensive to get food there. Now, you're looking at, on average, $14, $15 a plate if you're just going to eat at one of the many restaurants that they have there. And that's on the low end. I did see a lot of $33, $35 prices on some of the higher end. And with that, I like to pack some sandwiches. We packed sandwiches for lunch at the parks, and then we had a decent dinner outside of the parks. We did eat a couple times like this at the park, and so with that, you really can't, I couldn't afford to do that 3 meals a day, so we packed some sandwiches. You can bring it in a backpack, you can bring some bottled waters, but oddly enough, if you come in with a fountain drink from another place, they'll make you throw it away. I think that food at the hotel is similarly priced, so it's almost every bit as expensive to eat at the hotel as it is to eat at the parks for the most part. So you can make yourself something to eat at your hotel room if you want to do that. If that's a route you want to go, or you could always get a quick fast food type of a dinner if you'd like to, if you can get outside of there. Now, if you fly in, it would have cost us $1,500 to fly in, and we wouldn't have the opportunity to go outside of Disney World to get other food that is cheaper. But after it's all said and done, I would definitely say that it was worthwhile taking my family in 2023. I'm glad we went. Glad it's over. I'm glad we have the memories. Hope this video helps you make a decision whether or not you want to go to Disney World and how to do it on a budget. Like and subscribe to Hang Around.